directly to go. We should go on very soon. There's Lindsey, Lattner, and Stephanie Zerda from the State of Tennessee Central Procurement Office for utilizing statewide contracts. Let me get your bio. Do you guys want to roll on? Sure. Lindsey joined the State of Tennessee Central Procurement Office as a procurement compliance specialist after graduating from Auburn University in 2014. In that role, she reviewed statewide and agency term contracts and agency spend. In 2016, she was promoted to the category team as a category specialist on the commodities team, where she manages statewide contracts such as gases, office furniture, and forestry supplies. That was interesting.
War Eagle.
War Eagle. Roll Tide.
Stephanie started her career with the Tennessee Department of Transportation back in 2016, working on agency local purchases. Since then, she's been promoted to the Central Procurement Office as a sourcing analyst, working one-on-one with agencies such as Department of Agriculture to establish and execute agency term contracts. After receiving a promotion in March of 2018, she joined the technology team, where she is currently managing statewide contracts with a focus in software and software cooperatives as a category specialist. Ladies, thank you.
Good morning, I'm Lindsey, this is Stephanie, and like Debbie said, we are category specialists, so we manage the statewide contracts in the Central Procurement Office. Before I forget, we have some bags and goodies over here that we'd like for you to get before you leave, unless you said Roll Tide, then you can't get it. I'm just kidding. So yeah, feel free to stop us at any time if you have any questions, and then we'll also have some questions at the end. So first, we're going to have a quick little 3-minute video kind of describe what we do.
We'll carry over, but we'll just.
Does this look like you?
Can people hear this?
Last time I had to hold the speaker to get his name.
The mic isn't working.
Oh, and some of these mugs might be broken, but we have extra.
Everybody wants the best product or service, they want the best price, and they want you to get it for them right now. What if I told you there was a quick and easy source for help? Statewide contracts may be the answer for you. Statewide contracts are contracts for goods or services secured by the state of Tennessee for use by state agencies. But these carefully negotiated and cost-effective contracts can also be used by local governments, higher education institutions, and qualified not-for-profit organizations. There are almost 150 statewide contracts you can use to buy the goods, services, and technology you need. Imagine all the purchasing it takes to run an organization as large as Tennessee state government. Those same contracts can be available to you and at the same price paid by the state. So how does this help you? Competitive pricing and economies of scale mean you can harness the power of statewide contracts to lower the prices you pay. Statewide contracts are competitively procured, meaning you can use them without doing your own time-consuming advertising and soliciting. Spending less time on procurements frees up your personnel to work on other tasks and priorities, thus reducing your administration. Statewide contracts are developed, evaluated, and managed by Tennessee's own subject matter experts and procurement professionals, assuring that you have access to carefully screened goods and services from dependable suppliers. And Tennessee's successful program for attracting and assisting small businesses and businesses owned by minorities, women, service-disabled veterans, and persons with disabilities means that statewide contracts nurture diverse suppliers and encourage local businesses. More than 140 local entities in Tennessee are currently using statewide contracts. By doing so, they are capitalizing on the state's procurement expertise and experience. They are lowering the prices they pay for goods and services And if they have any questions or comments about the contracts they are using, they can contact
That's an old video.
the supplier directly, or one of the state's experienced contract managers is just a phone call or an email away.
It's expensive to
Sure.
make new videos.
Statewide contracts offer, how about less work for you, lower prices for your organization, and equal or better value for your customers. Plus, quick and easy to use. Find out more about statewide
More expensive.
contracts and how you, your agency, and your customers can benefit.
I liked the end because the confetti was falling.
Alright. Okay, so some of the things that we're going to go over in this presentation are what statewide contracts, or the abbreviation SWCs are, what the benefits are of using these statewide contracts, how to access the statewide contracts, how to find if a good or service is on statewide, how to purchase from a statewide contract, how to contact the CPO for assistance, what to do if a good or service isn't on statewide contract, and we'll go over review statewide contracts at the end, so you can be a little more familiar with them. So the Central Procurement Office, or CPO, is a division of the Department of General Services. It was created in 2011 under TCA 456-104, and that created the Chief Procurement Officer and the Central Procurement Office. There was an additional Executive Order 27, and so that was an executive order that transferred certain procurement positions from like the departments, for example, Department of Health, Department of Education, certain procurement positions within the state to the Central Procurement Office, that they have their own designated person and representative in our office. Our mission of Department of General Service is serving as a valued business partner, delivering strategic general services for state government. Our mission is to transform public sector general services through innovation, leadership, and best practices. And then our motto is better service at a lower cost. Okay, so this is a pretty simplified organizational chart of the Central Procurement Office. So we have Mike Terry, who's our Chief Procurement Officer, and his deputy, Shannon. And then we have a category team that focuses on commodities, technology, and services for the statewide. And then we also have sourcing department that focuses more on their specific agencies. So in our office, we also have a P-card team, assistance team, GoDBE, training, compliance, legal, and some admin teams. So, what is a statewide contract? It's a contract that's for goods or services established by the CPO, available to all state agencies and authorized users. So again, we're broken out into 3 different teams within the statewide category side, which are commodities, technology, and services. So some of the big commodities are office supplies, industrial supplies, medical supplies, vehicles, gases, office furniture, basically anything you can touch would be considered a commodity. And then we have the tech, which are computers and tablets, servers, software, GPS tracking, phones. And then we have our services team, which they manage vehicle rental, leasing, package delivery, HVAC systems, mailing equipment. Majority of our statewide are open to local users. But just to verify, if you look at the individual contract itself, it'll have a question that says, is this contract available to local users? And it'll say, yes, it is. But like I said, majority of them are. So who can use a statewide contract? So state government, so the departments and agencies, courts, legislature, commissions and boards, and then local governments like cities, counties, municipalities, school districts, quasi-governmental organizations. Schools can also use them, for example, the University of Tennessee, community colleges, TCATs, and Tennessee private nonprofit universities. And then certain qualifying nonprofits can use these as well. This one gets a little dicey because a lot of people think that just because if they're a nonprofit organization, they can use it. But these are really focused on the organizations who are contracting with the Department of Developmental Disabilities and Mental Health.
I'll just add, our staff attorney, if there is a question and you are curious, our staff attorney is there to kind of make that decision. So it wouldn't be up to like a contract administrator, it would be our legal team that would make that decision.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, I mean, you can email us and we'll be happy to relay the question to them. Okay. So 140 local governments use the statewide contracts and 44 higher education entities. This is a little old. I'm sure there's more. This was based on the 2016 calendar year. And this is actually a heat map. So of the counties that are using our contracts. So the darker counties are the ones who use it the most, and the lighter ones don't use them quite as much. Okay, so developing a statewide contract. So the idea starts when there's two or more state government agencies, if they have a similar need or if there's a lot of local government use, we'll sit down and talk about creating a statewide contract. And so once we decide to proceed, we'll do some market research to see what's out there. We'll identify suppliers. We'll benchmark against other states and local units of government and even some private sectors if we can to see, what would be a good competitive pricing. We'll have subject matter expert collaboration to get their opinions and develop specifications. And then also we'll finalize the solicitation within our team attorneys and then send the solicitation out to the streets. So once we do that, we'll advertise the solicitation. And so we have pretty much two separate evaluation methods. One is called an ITB, which stands for invitation to bid. And so that's more so like black and white, straightforward. You meet the specifications and you have the lowest cost. That's when you will receive the bid. And then we also have the RFP, which is more about quality. Instead of just the lowest price meeting it, we'll do more evaluation. So both of these will have a pre-response conference where we invite agencies who are interested and also potential bidders. And we'll go over some of the terms and conditions there. Once that's done, we'll advertise the solicitation and then we'll collect bids. And then we will evaluate the bids. And once we deem someone is has completed their event and their solicitation, we'll negotiate pricing and terms with them. And then we'll award the contract, and then we go into the contract management phase of it. So basically, as category specialists, we manage the contracts from cradle to grave. Okay. So why do we use statewide contracts? The first reason is we don't have to reinvent the wheel. So raise your hand if you or someone in your office has a basic cell phone that is required. Yeah, there's a lot of you. So I think it makes a little more sense to, save money to create a single statewide contract that you guys can buy off of instead of making your own individual contracts. If they're all the same thing, we could have one large contract. You don't have to go through a lengthy procurement process. So this frees up your admin time to work on other priorities. So if you think of all the time you spent researching products, vendors, developing solicitations, negotiating contracts, you could spend that time focusing on issues that's specific to your accounting department. Another reason is we can benefit from competitive pricing due to leverage volume. So we're all tasked with getting the highest quality goods and services at the lowest cost for your citizens. And you must also do so in spite of budget cuts and competing interests and needs and funding. So if we have a larger, organization like the state, we might have better, we might be able to receive better discounts because of the volume itself. So one of the reasons to use the statewide contract is because we have procurement experts, legal and subject matter experts developing the contracts. For example, I might not be familiar with tractors with specialty mowers, but we have a team at TDOT who is very helpful and our subject matter experts that help create the solicitation and the specifications. The Central Procurement also manages contracts and can assist with any questions and issues. I think at the end of the slideshow, you'll be able to identify, how to look up the contracts and the contract administrators. So if you have any questions, we all have direct lines, so you can reach out to any of us. And if we're not the right person, then we'll be happy to assist you with who the correct person is. So just a further breakdown of our category management teams. Our director of category management and also our team attorneys is Paul Krabaka. Our procurement program director is Trey Norris, and then they both oversee the commodities, technology, services teams, and our category administrative specialists. So the commodities team, we're responsible for, like I said, things you can touch, industrial supplies, office supplies, vehicles. Our team lead is Tony Bybee. The category specialists are Karen Conway, myself, Mike Neely, and we have 2 vacant positions right now. Technology team is our second team. They're responsible for the procurement and management of statewide centered around technological devices and software. Josh Gaddy is the team lead, and some of the category specialists are Simeon Aiden, Lauren Blevins, Richard Kotler, Michael Porter, and Stephanie Zerda. And lastly, we have the services team. They're responsible for service contracts for personal, professional, and consulting services, such as vehicle leasing, staffing, HVAC systems, etc. Joy Brassfield is the team lead, and then she manages Leighton Beecham, Parker Burt, Kayla Logan, Vanessa Munson, and Eve Wittenberg. Okay. And so another reason to utilize statewide contracts are we have access to diverse and dependable suppliers. So we have 176 suppliers on statewide contracts, and 36 of them are GoDBE certified, that are on statewide contract. And so just a brief overview of our GoDBE program for Governor's Office of Diversity, Business, and Enterprise. Their central focus is to attract and assist minority-owned, women-owned, persons with disabilities, service-disabled, veteran-owned, small business enterprises to compete successfully in state procurement and contracting activity. So just a brief overview of the program. Currently, there's over 1,700 certified diversity businesses. So for the minority business, women business, and you have to have at least 51% owned and controlled by those individuals that fall into that category. Our new one is persons with disabilities, disabled services, that came effective of July 1st, 2017. And again, at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more persons with a disability. We also have service disabled veteran-owned enterprises and small businesses enterprises. And for small businesses, that would be sales volumes that are more than $10 million average over a 10-year period, or not more than 99 full-time employees.
Do you have a list of like a spreadsheet or whatever of those businesses in the state of Tennessee so we can like sort it and find out who's in our area?
Yeah. We can definitely, there's a link at the bottom of the next slide, and I'll be happy to send you that. We'll chat it. So just the contact information for GoDBE. Sheila Simpson is the director, and that's her phone number and email listed above. And then she also has a team of diversity business liaisons, which include Gwen Sanders, Richard Van Norman, Sylvia Chun, and Edric Heyman. And that link I was telling you about is right there.
Thank you.
Okay, so do we have any questions right now? Okay. So far we've covered what statewide contracts are and the benefits of using it. So next we're going to touch on how to access the statewide contracts, how to find if a good or service is on statewide contracts, and how to purchase from statewide contracts. Okay. So we have the supplier portal, which I'll go over in just a few minutes, of where you can find the statewide contracts. We have usage instructions, which is very helpful because you can go ahead and just click on, what contract you're interested in, and it'll provide a brief overview of that contract and a brief description. And it'll also have, specific instructions and contact information for us as the category specialist and the suppliers. And we have Tea and Smart Shop. Those are all the bags that you all have just received. And you will be giving out pins in a few minutes that we forgot to give out, that has the URL to get our statewide contract listing to the supplier portal. But I always tell people to go ahead and just save those links so you can easily click on them and pull them up.
Can you go back for a second?
And we can send, Debbie, can we send these presentation to you?
We're trying to write down all the URLs.
Oh, yeah.
On the board to laugh.
Yeah, well,
I'm gonna click it with you.
You guys can't write faster?
I would too.
Yeah, we'll send this out. Okay. So navigating the Central Procurement Office website, I find it's best if you just type in the Department of General Services webpage, which is very easy to remember. It's tn.gov/general services. And so if you hover over the Procurement tab, you can then click on the local units of governance page. And then you'll be able to, they have a few different pictures with links to click on. It's cleaned it up quite a bit, so it's a lot easier to use. But one of those links is the supplier portal page. And so to view statewide contracts, if you go into the middle column, kind of halfway down the page, you can select the statewide contract SWC search. And then they also have some other additional links that you can view, such as, RFP listings, TDOT, vendor community, but that's definitely the most helpful page. Okay, so when you click on the statewide contract search, it will pull up this page. So it has a list of all our statewide contracts. So it's good if you want to be able to see what all we have. If you just scroll down alphabetically, you can see what's available. But if you know exactly what you're looking for example, office supplies, it's a lot easier to just hit Control F and then type in office supplies instead of having to, scroll through everything. And it is very beneficial to allow pop-ups on the site because then you'll be able to see things. Okay. So once you get there, if you click on, once you find the contract page you're looking for, there's a folder icon to the right of it. So if you click on that folder icon, it'll bring you to a further page, which will have the Edison contract number, the contract documents, and the line items. So if it's a contract that has if it's a statewide contract that has several different vendors on it, all these vendors and contracts will be listed on this page. But for the office supplies example, there's only one. But if you click on the folder icon for contract documents, you can see documents such as those signed contracts, usage instructions, terms and conditions, specifications, if there's any other additional helpful links on there. And then there is also an icon to the right of that has the line items. And if you click on that, it'll bring up the line items. And there's also, I know it's hard to see, but there's also, can you go back up one second? If you click on, there's a little grid link, and if you click on it, that's an Excel sheet that can pull up all the line items. There can be duplicates, so keep that in mind. Okay, and so to ensure there's a comprehensive search, we recommend doing the statewide contract line details option that can also be found on the supplier portal page right below statewide contract search. And so that will pull every line for every contract. So if you don't know, really where to begin, what, line item would fall under for a certain contract, and this is a great tool to, just pull up to see everything we have.
Any questions for Lindsey or?
Well, I kind of have a question.
Yeah.
Sometimes that would be helpful. I know for me, when I've looked at different things on the statewide contract, that if it's not eligible anymore, and you're putting out a new contract, it doesn't state that, on the website. I mean, if you guys could type something in there, because then you think those prices are still good because it still goes out farther. However, you have a new one in place.
I think it's reliant on Edison's refresh rate of the spreadsheet that gets pulled up.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what that refresh rate is, but you're right. It's really a baseline of what's out there, and I'm not sure that the best way to go about it is usage instructions. The contacts on there and working with the supplier, because even contacts on there on that spreadsheet are outdated. Supplier names are outdated, or they get acquired by another company. So it's really just a guide. It wouldn't be,
Right.
you know.
Because I did try to, you know, I sent emails to the vendors and didn't get stuff back, and then I finally contacted someone and they were like, oh, that one's no good anymore, we have a new one out.
Oh, yes.
Let us get in contact. Oh, those people aren't good anymore. Well, no wonder I wasn't getting
Yeah.
replies, you know?
Yeah. I will even say, as a contract administrator, sometimes I don't even know, because companies are being, especially with technology, they're being bought out so fast. And so I'll be reaching out to someone and they're not responding, and then their manager comes to me out of the blue and says, oh, we let that person go. So it's tricky, but I would always work either hand in hand with the rep or the contract administrator. And I don't know how our refresh rate can be improved. It might be a special project that the system team is already working on, but they are aware of a lot of those pitfalls that happens. And the more you bring it to our attention, the more need for it to become a project at the top of the list. So,
Priority.
but I know systems has a mega long list of all the improvements for Edison functionality, and the Edison team, they
Dizzy.
slow moving milestones too. So, like, where's our update? Where's our update? So, but that is a good point. Okay, so I'm going to do a short walkthrough of TN Smart Shop. I would go into TN Smart Shop itself, but it is reliant on Edison, which can be fidgety and slow, and it can, I would hate to take it on a slow move. So we'll just go through the screenshots, and we have a dedicated link that you can click on. You can register for free. Locals can. I know that this wasn't a thing before, and so enough locals, and with working hand in hand with Edison, we were able to put this together to give locals access to TN Smart Shop. So you'll just build your own credentials, user ID, and password.
Is that municipality specific, or you can have individual users for each municipality?
It should be individual users.
Fantastic.
And there's also a contact information as well, an email and phone number, if you're having any issues. Call them up. It's easier just to jump on the phone. So this is an example of going through searching catalogs. I have personally purchased through TN Smart Shop, and it's we've had so many upgrades. This is a new upgraded version by Acquire, which is our new vendor. They've provided a more user-friendly screenshot, and it's supposed to be like an e-market space similar to Amazon. So you're going to get that quick, easy, searchable. It's a smarter search engine. So you can also access suppliers as well, and it will show you, how many active catalogs they have, vendor name, statewide contract number, and it's supposed to be an easier screen and form to look up a vendor, much faster than Googling. But it has all their information there, living in TN. Another benefit is, let's say if you're searching for binder clips, there's some cool added features. You can quickly add it to your cart, or you can compare products to see detailed information. You can favorite products now, and it'll save all your favorites for quick and easy purchasing. and then adding obviously your product to your checkout. And the next is of what that looks like comparing two products. We didn't have that feature before on TN Smart Shop, so I think that's pretty cool, especially if it's your single job to kind of make sure your cost savings for your smaller local purchase. So another feature is saving your shopping cart for reoccurring purchases, like monthly purchases, and especially if you need to expedite orders and you know something's coming up, you can save that readily and easier now. And when you check out, you can also download a spreadsheet, which you can, it should spit out when it generates your PO. You can tie a spreadsheet now and it'll easily, and you can save that locally on your computer as well. And you can archive that information in a more user-friendly way. So authorized users may utilize statewide contracts by purchasing directly with the awarded contract. But we also say, you know, make sure you're following your own procurement policies and procedures. I do have locals that do call me, and sometimes they don't have the training in-house, and so they will call CPO and ask us, how do I buy something? We do not know all the locals' policies and procedures for buying specifically. We are just managing the contract for you and to know if you can or cannot use it. So bear in mind, we will help you along the way as much as we can. So, and also another thing to keep in mind is that using our statewide contract doesn't mean that you would purchase using our account. Let's say you are going to Staples TN Smart Shop and they don't have an account for you to tie your PO to or requisition to. You need to have that account so that they, all the accounting and all of that will go smoothly and tie that together.
You would buy credit card at the end, or does it have to be by purchase?
With the TN Smart Shop, I'm not sure if they've added.
You can use your P card.
The P card, you can. Yes.
I believe so.
Yeah, I believe so too. I'm used to the old, less upgraded version, so I didn't want to just say yes. But yes, it sounds like they've bridged the P card. So I want to roll through this. So we've covered everything for TN Smart Shop, but we also want to provide, and we'll just go right on to the next slide. TN Smart Shop links. I recommend everything is kind of embedded inside of URL links and web pages and clicking on everything. Google is your best friend when it comes to these tabs like TN Smart Shop, the CPO directory. You can literally type in CPO directory, and I actually did this for every single slide, and it'll be the first search right there. So definitely don't spend time trying to memorize where things are. Our systems team will also sometimes change URLs, so it's easier just to use a quick Google search. And our directory is living on there. Our directory, unfortunately, does not show which specific statewide to contract administrator. So if you are, you're really frustrated and you literally can't find this contract administrator, and everyone has a turnover rate, so contact that team lead. They are rock solid, or our director even, any name you can find. And our front desk, Ashton Rogers, she's front desk admin as well, and she has that readily available for anybody in office.
Or if you just see a category specialist name, you can, reach out to us, and we'll be happy to show you the right person.
Is the CPO SWC, is that that generic email address?
Yes.
A good option also?
Yes, so we have our category admin specialists tied to that, and they work hand in hand with the director. So there is someone living and breathing behind that. And that's where we send that email to our suppliers too. So it's kind of a catch-all for any like inquiries or, you know, thoughts or help if you need help on that end. So how to find open procurement is a question that we get a lot as well, especially from suppliers. How do we find opportunities, solicitations? How do you know what's going on, what's new? So we have our two methods for our procurements, which is the ITB and RFP. This is live. These updates are live. Our suppliers are relying on it. Our executive branch agencies are relying on it. Locals relying on it. So we make sure to have those updated really quick. So, and I recommend also, this is on CPO's website, but just quick Google, you can find invitation to bid procurements through Google and the RFPs, and that'll be a quick search if you have a hard time finding it embedded in. And so related links as well, same thing. And then contract additions. So we do often get a lot of feedback on how we can do things better, and they do go somewhere. So we appreciate if you want to call and yell about a supplier. Supplier complaints are an official process through our office as well for executive branch agencies. Now, locals, we can put that in for you. We can have that filed as well. So new statewide contract ideas, if you want to see something change, if you just have feedback for us, communication, how we can communicate better, we're always welcoming that. Best practice is for high-level ideas and sharing thoughts, I would go to a team lead. They're the ones who are going to collect that over their team. And that's just something that they have also more knowledge, higher level for their entire team that they can probably share. And also, if you're looking for a specific product or service, a contract administrator knows the language of their T's and C's. And there is a process called the MOU that they can amend a contract to add a product or service to that particular statewide contract. It's just worth asking if you can't find a product or service. So we do have lovely updates shared out through our mailing list, and it has, this is new, this is super new, so, and we'll send this link again to you. I encourage you, and you can sign up by topic of what you want, and you can kind of manage what notifications you want to see. So I encourage everybody, I've signed up, we all signed up actually as contract administrators. We sometimes can fall into silos amongst the teams ourselves. So I might not necessarily know what commodities is doing, and Lindsey might not know what technology is doing. So it's easily, and it's there, and this is actually a sample of what the email looks like. So you'll see it come up and you'll recognize it's from DGS. All right, so we're on to being familiar with statewide contracts. We have different contract types. We have, first is a single supplier versus a multi-supplier award. And under that, it can be used in many different ways. There could be awarded one or more supplier by geographic area. TDOT is known for this. And that means that it opens up competition because you can have more vendors servicing those geographic areas. Multiple suppliers awarded in order of preference, A, B, and C. I think HVAC uses that type of structure.
Yeah, I think a lot of services.
Services is like, that's their go-to. And again, there's usage instructions that explains those awards, so they make sense. Multiple suppliers awarded there are multiple suppliers and there's no exact way to choose sometimes. It's really up to your discretion. For example, servers and storage manufacturer, we have so many manufacturers, but if you have an embedded base already, like IBM, you can choose IBM. You don't necessarily have to do Oracle if your server already is IBM. And lastly, a multi-supplier is awarded who continually compete per job. Example I'll use, again, technology will be most of my examples, is software. There's a lot of software resellers. And so, actually no, I want to use servers and storage again. The servers, like the IBMs, the Oracles, they have resellers. And we've worked with our IT division and we've designated 5 resellers. And if you have a specific project, our IT group will, for executive branch agencies, will bid out a project to all of those resellers. And that is within one contract. So it's a continual compete method that drives down a cost. So you kind of have a pool there, and you're continually by projects competing out to the resellers who all resell, like let's say Oracle. Another type is line item versus a catalog contract. Catalog is going to be something like software that price is changing all the time. And we need something quick and easy that we can update. Every year, we update catalogs per se every year for pricing. But if we have model changes, product number changes, that is going to change super frequently in a catalog. It does not require amendment. Line items is in a commodities contract. All the line items there have to be amended. They have an item ID and it's specific to a product that will stay the same for the term of that contract. So not apples to oranges there. Confidential contracts is new for the state and executive branches. Specifically for technology, our IT department is moving towards a more confidential way of going about contracts. That is for safety and data security purposes. So it's new. Sometimes you are aware of a current contract that isn't confidential yet, and then we re-procure, and IT says, oh, we're making it confidential now. Well, that means all the end users have to sign non-disclosure agreements, so an NDA, in order to access all of those documents per the contract. So get a hold of your contract administrator if that happens, or you can't find that contract anymore. It means it won't be on Edison. It won't be publicly accessible. It'll be living internally in our system. Restricted contracts means we have a statewide contract that has one agency that is managing and the approval of the usage. So, for example, our IT department is they are moving toward restricted contracts so that we don't have a lot of agencies buying all this equipment that maybe they shouldn't be buying. So it'll be an approval process through that one agency. Sole source versus proprietary. Sole source would be like a manufacturer who has no resellers. You have to go through that manufacturer. Microsoft is an example. They will only service using a Microsoft rep. They won't have a software reseller service for your software, that you implement. Proprietary would be something like John Deere. You have to have a John Deere tractor, and there are resellers, but you have to have that one proprietary product. And cooperative contracts would be your entities that combine together to leverage their buying power for better or discounts. That can be states, local entities, in the national level, there's all tiers of cooperatives. And we're starting to call our statewide cooperatives as well. So it's a term that we're using, we're a friendlier way to kind of show that we are open to working together with different kinds. All right, so how to identify contract structure. The key is to using the usage instructions. And usage instructions typically are reliant on the contract administrator or team lead to develop. Some are stronger than others and they're more useful. Some have not been updated, reliant on the contract administrator. I say that because I will be handed a contract to manage, and I'll take a look at the usage instructions that haven't been updated for a couple of years. So just some transparency. Don't be afraid to reach out to us if you see something is really wrong. Also, our website can also knock off a usage instruction and it's not accessible, and we won't know that it's not a clickable link anymore. So always call us if something's down or not right. Usually we do a good job at making sure that they're on there and live. You'll find things like the contract period, a background on how to use it, what it means, and what it looks like. Contact information, supplier contract information like the Edison ID. Who is your regional rep? Who's your state rep? Who's your national rep? Things like that. And also the local government entity instructions, whether you can use it or not. So right now, the next few slides are what our naming conventions look like, some of those major contracts per category. And so I'll just kind of roll through these really quickly. If you do have a specific question, please find us after and we'll give you the name of that contract administrator if it's a granular question that we can't answer. Vehicle rentals is a big contract, and that is really important for our employees and also personal use. So, and that is a single supplier award, and that has set line items. Good thing to know about vehicle parts, that not all the stores per se like Napa are participating. So it's really important to know that if you think, Napa, you can just go down the street, you have to verify if they're a participating store. So that is pretty critical to know. And newly awarded for tires, Statewide Contract 221, that was recently awarded to Bridgestone, Firestone, and Goodyear. So just a quick updates for vehicle contracts.
And if you have a local tire dealer, this was an example of the co-op that Stephanie was going over. If you know like a local dealer who sells Bridgestone, Firestone, and Goodyear and wants to be a part of the tires contract, have them email Tony Bybee, who's my team lead, because he'll work with them to create a contract for those dealers.
You had mentioned for vehicle rentals that for at least personal. Does that mean like someone personally rents something for like their vacation?
So there is a specific link for state employees to use it for personal use at a discounted rate.
For state
employees. I believe they can participate, but I'm not sure at what degree. So it's worth looking into, but I'm not.
Yeah, that's something that we can ask.
Yeah. And the usage instructions are public, so you can click into it and find out. But I think, yeah, that's a good question we can follow up with. But we do offer it for personal use. Like that's the main idea, which was huge for us because even state employees don't know that. We have that there with Enterprise right now, Enterprise. It might not be the cheapest because I've used it myself, but in terms of service and quality, they're the better in terms of an enterprise level to go to.
Stephanie,
Yes.
could we take a second and go through this list on this slide and see who in the room is using each of these?
Yeah,
I don't want to take a long time on this.
We use the diesel fuel for our school district.
Well, let's do them one at a time. 199, anybody? 204? Just raise your hand. 204? 205?
207, 208, 209, yes, 221, 222, 234, 245.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. There's a lot listed on here. Do we want to go over this list? Is this a category that we're interested?
Too many.
I think I've got 222.
So this is highly and heavily used with agencies like TDOT. So, and I know TDOT works a lot with the counties. So a lot of these are multiple awards. For example, traffic paint and glass, multi-award, rock salt, multi-award, ground maintenance and utility is multi-award. So there's a lot to cover with the state of Tennessee. So that is going to be a method that they would like to use.
That was my question, was why are they small?
Yeah, the bolded items are kind of like the higher interest, higher usage, higher volume. Those are the ones that a lot of people tend to go to and ask questions about.
Yeah, and they have a lot of local use. Like I believe with 242, I think there's more local use than there is state use.
Go on to software, which is my wheelhouse. So I'm managing 3006. So this is probably one of the biggest coverings and product offerings that technology has to offer. And it is being reprocured. I'm trying to reprocure it to the direction of a cooperative. There's a lot of restrictions with this. It's like commercial off the shelf, like your Microsoft, your Adobe, everything that a group will need to buy, and it needs to be readily available. So this was procured 5 years ago, and it's becoming a super outdated structure. So in the reprocurement, I'm working with a cooperative, the NASPO Value Point team, and I'm actually on that team, and I'm helping them figure out how we can have software and we can do it better and include things like professional services, which is key in buying software that wasn't considered maybe 5 years ago. Right now, software can only include implementation and training and install, and there's so much more to software that needs to be covered. And so our executive branch agencies end up having to start their own agency term contract for services that aren't met with this contract. So this is huge, and it should be re-procured by September coming up. So it's going by fast, but this is all of our software offerings, and a lot of these are either proprietary or sole source.
Stephanie, I have a question.
Yes.
Somebody had told me once, I don't know if this is right or wrong, it's probably under that 3006. That I think Dell's one of the providers. They said, oh, you can go get any software you want under that. That's what I thought.
Yes, so, no, if it is like a low bid and you don't have to go, like a local purchase, based on the dollar value, we do say, hey, go to Dell and make sure you include them on your competitive bid. And Dell is our go-to for a lot of smaller purchases. This contract is restricted by software title. So Dell can only sell certain things like Microsoft, Red Hat. So they are bound to the software titles only. And we don't even have that many on there. So that's also the other side of it. And Dell said we need to offer more because the agencies want more. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with the reprocurement, because it's not, there's such a growing need for software and there's new software every day. So we want something that will meet the needs and a faster growing adaptive pace than what this contract is.
Maybe what I was told was where it was headed,
Yes.
not where it is today.
Yes.
Thanks.
The Nashville Valley Point Cooperative, that's the exact structure. It's if you need something, we will go, we have 4 resellers on contract. We're gonna ask those resellers, hey, are you certified to sell this software? Get certified and we're going to buy it through you. So, and they have a baseline offerings of all their software titles, and then there's one that if something isn't listed, we have a certain discount for that unlisted, and we'll go and we'll get certified to sell it. New things looking forward for software. I'm excited about it. All right, office contracts. Are we using office statewide contracts in here? Okay. Anyone use shredding services? Office supplies, 316. Paper and plastic goods. Our mailroom equipment is a huge one. I know that was being reprocured. So a lot of these, they're just good to know that they're there. Coffee brewers, accessories, premium coffee, all of these offerings are with office. Next would be safety contracts. Is anyone using safety contracts?
Yes. Ammunition.
I will say, let's see if I have any updates on here. So emergency notification, that is restricted to safety, I believe. So that's important to know. And then mass notification is with Everbridge for threats such as active shooter, road closings, or severe weather. I want to say is restricted as well. And then blocks are newly awarded, single electronic fingerprinting, single award, and the license plate recognition system. I believe it's sole source, but I believe it's being procured now currently. So it'll be out there soon. Let's just skip to computer and tech contracts. So this is some offerings that are offered by the tech team as well. So NASPO servers and storage. We do have Apple products. That's a big question. We do have Apple products. The reps, the Apple reps, are kind of hard to get a hold of in terms of finding who's your rep. They have reps everywhere. So they're readily available, but if you have questions concerning our statewide contract, come to us, because you might just get a rep that might not know that we have that contract. All right, and then facility contracts. We have building materials, facility fire security service, industrial supplies. Those are I guess, our contracts that are leading the way and go-tos for major buys. And then miscellaneous contracts, which is pretty interesting. We have dairy products, footwear, household linens and rags, swimming pool chemicals, sanitary products, mattress pads and covers. So you name it, it's random, we got it. And our last takeaway is that we want you to know, as any local entity, there's a place to find our contracts. There's a place to contact if you need to find a contract, how to use our contracts. And if you can't find something, there's a method that you can use to reach out, communicate, and find what's new and out there that we are procuring. Again, we have our mail list, our government and local government MailChimp mail listing with reoccurring updates and statewide contracts. And lastly, if you have feedback, this is our link to our SurveyMonkey for our office, so you can relay specific feedback. We have listed contract administrators on there, and then again, that catch-all email address for statewide issues. And that's it. Questions?
Since both governments are going to be required to, or not both governments will be required to do replace the voting machines this year, is the state going to bid the voting machines?
Voting machine. I don't know.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Yeah. Find out about that. Yeah, we can follow up, and I have my business cards. If you want to grab one from me in the back, I'd love to follow up with you.
I know that Canon has state contract with y'all, and it just got renewed, or they changed it though. So I've talked with our Canon rep, and he's going to stay with the contract pricing that's effective right now, that he's got to have that by May 30th.
Yeah.
So my question is if we get that pricing, will it only be good for that first fiscal year, and then it will transfer over to the new Canon pricing after that?
The services question.
Usually not. It usually, you will keep your pricing for your 5
Okay.
years. Anyone who does the new usually, I
Because
mean,
their
that pricing
pricing went up
doesn't pass.
significantly because of the way that the RFP was worded, because they had to put in a per click price, and Canon had an unlimited click on their old contract. So you could just do a base price and you wouldn't have to pay anything over. If you went over their suggested amount of clicks, you didn't have to pay anything over, so it'll make a big difference for us.
Yeah, we can have.
And maybe has Canon given you any feedback that they have to do the per click now because of the contract?
Yeah, because otherwise their response would have been non-responsive because they asked for per click. So they were awarded the new bid, but he says it's substantially higher than what they have right now. So I wanted to make sure that if we're going to go into this contract with them, that it wouldn't change after the fact.
There's our contracts are somewhat the baseline. If you have the capability to negotiate using our contract as a baseline and you want to throw in, I guess, fixed pricing, or if you want to restructure it, you could amend, but I'm not sure. I guess it would be up to
Canon.
Yeah, it would be up to Canon whether that they want to offer that at the local level. I have heard of vendors kind of making changes at the local level, but they won't do it necessarily at the statewide level. So that's kind of where choosing which method you want to go to.
So I guess I just need to ask Canon, is this gonna be my contract until we're done with Canon?
But yeah, we'll follow up with the Canon rep on our side and see what their thoughts are. All right, so our chief procurement officer gave us so many goodies. We forgot this one, so it's cool postcard Tennessee. It's kind of in this little packet, but there's multiple postcards. And they're really cute, and then we have pens. So.
And make sure you have cups in your bags. I'm not sure all of them have cups. And the cups are good.
Yeah, make sure your cups aren't good. We had some casualties getting out of the car.
Everyone, let's thank Stephanie and Lindsey.
Oh, and I did want to announce, we are having a local government forum. I will be the one heading it off. We're just gearing up. It's November 6th. I've just booked it in Tennessee Room 1 and 2 in the Tennessee Tower. So be looking for, we're going to put out some last